All right. Well, that's so. I guess I should correct myself. I've been saying drivers going the right direction. I guess I should have been saying drivers haven't been going the left direction all these last 2 days. So I'll correct that for next time. But yes, the end of the right-handed turns, at least for now, in the month of May until we get to Detroit, are over with. It was the GP. I think I literally said this last year, this line. I guess I'll say it again. It was the most Indy GP of all time. Almost exactly the same result. A race that kind of played out very similarly to last year, with Alex Palou taking a fairly commanding victory. But we've got a pretty decent video to go through. We've got a lot of reaction from drivers that you maybe didn't hear from on television or elsewhere. So I think that'll be really interesting. So let's take a look at the results of today's race because that'll tell a lot of the stories right off of the bat. And so it's Alex Palou winning for the second year in a row at the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. He takes the points lead as well. A beautiful drive from Alex Palou. We'll talk about him more later. Will Power in second, a driver who's still knocking on the door of his first IndyCar win since 2022. But I'm sure it's coming, and it might come in the Indianapolis 500. You never know. Christian Lundgaard in third position. Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan still with a goose egg here at the Indy Road Course after being so strong every single time they come here. Scott Dixon, the master of fuel saving, in fourth position today. Marcus Armstrong, who you will hear from later in the IU-sponsored number 11 car for Chip Ganassi, came home in a solid top five, his first points-paying top five, although it's not his first top five overall. That was at the Thermal Club event. Scott McLaughlin had a good strategy fall his way with the yellow with Luca Ghiotto towards the end of the race. Colton Herta in seventh, a great recovery drive from him after getting knocked off the road by his teammate Marcus Ericsson. Alexander Rossi, a former winner on this road course, in eighth, the top McLaren in the field. Graham Rahal you will hear from later on in this video in P9, and also you will hear from Felix Rosenqvist later in this video in 10th. And Kyle Kirkwood in 11th. We got 9th, 10th, and 11th on this video today, so we won't talk too much about them. We'll let them speak for themselves. Romain Grosjean was in the middle of controversy throughout this day, morning warm-up, race, and all, with Santino Ferrucci. Pato O'Ward started in the Fast Six, blew an engine in the morning warm-up, and that significantly hampered his efforts. He has won a race this year and still has yet to lead a lap. Lucky 13th for Pato. Pietro Fittipaldi had a penalty which hampered him after a great top 10 start. Kiffin Simpson, another solid result for the rookie for Chip Ganassi Racing, in 15th spot. Marcus Ericsson had a bad day, having to give up 5 spots after running into Colton Herta. Teo Pourchaire in 17th in his first trip to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Joseph Newgarden in 18th spot. I think we're going to have to talk about that a little bit more. It looks like the suspensions on his team certainly had an effect on his pace. Jack Harvey in 19th for Dale Coyne Racing. Christian Rasmussen, 20th place for Car 20. Augustin Canapino, after being so fast in practice, was nowhere in the race. Stingray Robb in 22nd position. Tom Blomqvist got knocked around quite a bit throughout the day. Linus Lundqvist in 24th. Luca Ghiotto spun out, stalled, caused the only yellow on the day. Rinus VK had a slow pit stop, which caused his 26th place spot. And Santino Ferrucci was a little bit unclear about what his actual cause of retirement was. It was stated to be a mechanical failure. There's a suspicion that that was an engine, though unconfirmed at this time. So let's go straight into interviews. I guess we'll go from the top down. We'll talk to fifth place finisher today, Marcus Armstrong.
It's always challenging around here. There's just so many variables with tires and fuel loads and traffic as well. So congratulations to Alex, because he's obviously the man around here. He's won a few times now, so I'm going to go study his data.
Finishing in 9th position today was Graham Rahal, but he was disappointed all weekend long. Of course, you knew about the engine failure yesterday, but Graham is also looking ahead to the ovals.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. I thought we were just pretty average this weekend. Never really had the pace that I hoped for or expected, frankly. And in the race, just felt really unhappy with the balance of the car, and it's kind of all she wrote, to be honest. I just we didn't have the competitiveness this weekend at all that we had here in the Grand Prix at August, and I think we got to dig a little bit deeper to understand why.
Can you evaluate that from your position right now, or is that something you got to go do a really deep dive into the data for?
I think some things we know. Unfortunately, being as close to the 500, we had to sacrifice a couple of things that we had on the car last year that we couldn't this year for the Grand Prix. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's so close, man. And you miss it by a little bit. It feels like you miss it by a mile, and that's kind of how we were today.
Obviously extremely important when you get back here a couple days from now on the oval. We all know the story of you last year. You know, what are your kind of thoughts and feelings going into the oval portion of this month?
I'm excited. I'm excited just to see what we've got. You know, I think there's a lot of question marks right now, but I'm eager to see where everything shakes out here. So I'm excited. I'm happy with the performance and you know, that I've seen, the improvements that I've seen, and so now got to get on track and see what she does.
It was 10th position for Felix Rosenqvist today, but it certainly was a very up and down day for Felix, going starting near the front and then getting knocked to the back and going to the front again. So let's hear from Felix about his day and looking forward to the Indianapolis 500.
Well, I think it was more pretty much the back to the front, because I mean, lap 1 I got nailed in turn 1. I had to check the replay, but I was kind of sandwiched and just kind of tried to stay clean, and someone just completely drove into my door and ended on the grass, and I was pretty much last. Then I went off again trying to pass Pocher. I think I got kind of red mist going a little bit, and then I just kind of resettled, and we worked ourselves back to P10. That was probably the fastest car I've ever had here. We had to save quite a lot of fuel to do that. We got off the blacks and then just red. But yeah, car was great, and it's kind of bummed because I was curious to see what we could have done up there, but still really good. 4 straight top 10 finishes.
You were a front runner at the Indy 500 last year. We're about to turn left here in a couple of days. What are your thoughts going into that portion of May?
I mean, I'm hopeful. I have no idea, honestly, how the car is going to feel. We did a little running here a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, Elio won here a few years ago, so we have that to rely on, and it'll be good to kind of bounce ideas with him on the setup. But I think we kind of start on a clean sheet a little bit this year. You know, we weren't great last year, so reset a little bit. I know how the McLaren car felt here, so I think having that in my mind is going to be helpful, because that was a weapon here last year. And hopefully we can end up in a good spot.
And we also talked to Captain Kirk himself, Kyle Kirkwood. The Andretti team certainly didn't have their best day at the racetrack, but Kyle is always a beacon of positivity, believe it or not. And we also look forward to the Indy 500 with him.
I feel like we always have recovery drives here. It's unfortunate to say. I mean, you nailed it right there. Like, we got hit off in the beginning. I haven't seen a replay. I don't know who we got hit by, but it seemed like somebody created kind of a domino effect, and I'm not sure who that was. It was somebody probably a little bit further back. Unfortunate with that, because we just cycled right to the back, and qualifying so big in IndyCar, and we worked so hard to get kind of towards the front range, and we just get cycled right to the back after turn 1, so that sucked. But I mean, we had a good race. We had good strategy. We passed a lot of cars. We passed some cars in strategy. We thought we had a decent race car. So I mean, it was all right to come back to 11th. I think we were quicker than some of the guys that were still in front of us. So given more time, we could have got some more guys. But ultimately, I'd take 11th after getting taken out in the first corner.
So not a lot of people will remember this part of the Indy 500 last year for you, but I do. You were running up at the front towards the end of the race. How confident are you in getting back to turning left here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
Yeah, I think the more, I guess, what I'm known for here is going upside down and tire flying over the fence. But we were actually running in the top 10 at that point and almost leading coming into the last stop. So we know we've got a fast race car. It's actually that same car that I flipped in, put it in the wind tunnel. Everything looked money. So we're in a good spot with it. We did that one day a few weeks back, and I thought the car was amazing. I was ready to just pack it up and put it inside the trailer right then and there. And I imagine we're just going to keep polishing on it and keep getting it faster and faster, and we got some new stuff this year. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this year's. I think Andretti, we're going to be coming.
So let's talk a little bit about the race. Certainly, we saw the fur flying early on in the race. We saw guys getting into each other going into turn one. Now who caused that? I've heard a few different people blame. You'll let you guys decide who caused the schmozzle in turn one. And I think I mentioned that in yesterday's video that 27 cars going into that first turn was almost certainly going to end in contact. It did. Almost all the pink cars ended up off of the road. The big thing that was throughout this day, and really has been a thing since Barber, and I think a lot of drivers would argue has been a thing much longer than that, was the aggressive driving of Santino Ferrucci, actually flipping off Roman Grosjean in the morning warm up. They got into each other again on the start of the race, and it seemed like that actually hurt Santino Ferrucci, broke his car, and really took him out of the running. And frankly, I think you don't want it to totally devolve into UFC and guys just throwing haymakers at each other all the time. But I like the passion. I like that Santino is willing to get in there and start fighting. I think that's good. Running hard. I think Santino's good for the sport. I think he's getting people interested and excited, and as we know, he's going to be really, really quick at the Indianapolis 500. He's going to be one of the contenders for victory for sure. The pace of Andretti, I think, was surprising. Certainly, Colton Herta did a great recovery drive. In fact, you heard me talk to Kirkwood about his recovery drive. But, I think Andretti, if they really want to get back up into the position that they used to be in, they're really going to need to qualify better. They're going to need to show that form. I think the drivers are kind of outdriving the cars right now, or at least what the cars are capable of. I think the drivers are a little bit more capable than the cars, at least right now. The Rahal team really, really struggled on the pit stops. In fact, I think that's the reason that Christian Lundgaard lost this race. It's also probably the reason that Graham Rahal lost this race, although I think Graham had a worse strategy than Lundgaard did, for sure. Joseph Newgarden. So we talked about, Joseph mentioned his struggles briefly, but you look at those suspensions, most of them came off of his box. And you saw it today in the race. I mean, it clearly had a major effect on the two team. We'll see what happens in the Indianapolis 500. I mean, if he can just get to that last stint in the top five, I mean, that car's fast enough to be there. But if it turns into a strategy race like today's race was, it's very clear that pit box has a deficiency right now, in my opinion, as we see. So he's going to, the fact that it was crazy to me to see Newgarden fighting with Jack Harvey, which, nothing against Jack, but he's in a Dale Coyne racing car. You expect a Team Penske car to be much further up in the field, and yet that was the situation. So really weird there. Alex Palou, I mean, what else can you say about this guy? I think he has an opportunity to do something that no one has done before, which is win the pole, the race for both the Indy GP and the Indianapolis 500. Someone's come close before, Simon Pagenaud. He didn't win the pole for the GP. But, I've said this before, and I say it to Alex almost every time I see him. You've had the best car at the Indianapolis 500 the last 3 years. And you haven't gotten a win yet. And I don't think it's necessarily anything that Alex Palou's done himself. It's all been circumstance. And now we get to his fourth Indy 500 with Chip Ganassi, fifth overall. And I think the win's coming. It's just a matter of, as Will Power said in the press conference today, a perfect race. And frankly, Alex Palou ran a perfect race today. His pit crew was on it. He was on it. I think he gave a lot of credit to the crew for setting up the car, doing the pit stops right, and full credit to them. The 10 boys did a great job. But, on that last restart, Alex did everything he needed to do. He held off Will Power and then stretched the gap to 6 seconds by the end of the race. You don't do that just because your crew did a good job. You do that because you're a hell of a driver. And I think that's what Alex Palou is. As for the GP, I mean, I'm hard on it, but it's nice to see so many people out here. I kind of wish this was a week earlier. I think it would be, I'm going to keep saying that. I think the earlier we can get on the oval, the better from a promotional standpoint. But I think this event is fine. It's just, it feels like we waste, and we meaning just the sport in general, kind of waste so much of this month in which, you kind of have the attention of the racing community. I'd say take a little bit more advantage of that, in my opinion. But, my opinion only goes so far. So Indy 500 testing slated to begin on Tuesday. We'll see if that happens. Obviously, we've got more videos coming. I've got a dedicated history video coming, as well as we've got the Bandwagoners Guide coming as well, which will help you guys get up to speed. I've already been getting questions on Twitter about who's entered in the race. What cars are they driving? We'll be able to get you all of that information presented in the retro style that you guys all love. So that's always one of my favorite videos to do throughout the year, and it seems like it's your guys' favorite as well. So it's going to be a good time. Can't wait. It's next week is when we really get into the meat and potatoes of this Indianapolis 500, the 108th running. I'm feeling pretty good. The sun's out for now, and the cars are about to be making left turns. It's a good day. We'll see you in the next video.